Hi, I'm Karissa, and welcome back to Sleep Wave, a podcast where we let waves of relaxation wash over you through original sleep meditations created to help you fall asleep tonight. And don't worry if you don't hear the end of an episode. I encourage you to drift off whenever you're ready. Before we get started on tonight's episode, I'd like to say thanks again for all of the great ratings and reviews you guys have left us on Apple Podcasts and some of the other networks too. A big thanks tonight goes out to Dre_929, who says they've tried everything to fall asleep, but are now falling asleep like a baby after making Sleep Wave part of their bedtime routine. That's amazing news. So if you too find that sleep has come easier since listening to Sleep Wave, and you've not yet reached out to us, please feel free to let us know via the reviews on Apple Podcasts. We read them every day, and your ratings and reviews help us reach even more people who need a little help with their sleep right now. We started watching Christmas movies in my house right after Halloween this year. While I normally like to wait a bit, hold off until late November at the earliest, it's been extra fun this year since my son is just now waking up to holidays. Last year, he was too young to clock them. But now he's truly experiencing each holiday for the first time, and it's pretty magical to watch. All that's to say, Christmas movies have been a hit around here. This weekend, we watched A Christmas Carol with him. Watching it again brought back a slew of sweet memories for me. Right out of college, I was lucky to perform A Christmas Carol at an incredible theater in Rochester, New York, called the Jiva Theater. I played the roles of Belle and Martha Cratchit, and the season I spent performing it was hands down one of my favorite Christmases ever. Being surrounded by the powerful messages of generosity and goodwill that this story communicates so well was truly inspiring and uplifting. It's pretty impossible to not be filled with Christmas spirit when performing this show 10 times a week. In addition, the cast was wonderful. The world in this part of New York was covered in white, fluffy snow. The community welcomed us into their homes with cozy dinners, and we went ice skating and to movies and had cocktails in front of the fire when we weren't performing. It was idyllic and sweet in so many ways. That message of generosity struck me anew this weekend as I watched the film with my family. As an adult, the holiday season can sometimes feel more stressful than sweet. The to-do lists get even longer, the things to buy multiply, and giving can sometimes feel more like a chore than a joy. If you ever feel like this around the holidays, you're not alone. Tonight, we're going to meditate on the power of generosity and how that connects to abundance. Not only abundance of money, but how having a generous spirit can ease tension and create more joy and gratitude in your life as well. As important as it is to be generous with others, it's also essential to be generous with yourself, to give yourself the time and space to wind down at night, to reflect on the day, to give yourself enough time to rest and recharge. This time of year is often bustling with parties and get-togethers and travel, and there are countless reasons why your self-care could be left at the end of the to-do list. By taking the time tonight to meditate and give yourself the gift of meditating before sleep, you are replenishing yourself and will have a better tomorrow because of it. Settle in, take a deep breath, and get cozy as we meditate to Generosity and Abundance by Billy Gill. But you were always a good man of business, Jacob, faltered Scrooge, who now began to apply this to himself. Business, cried the ghost, wringing its hands again. Mankind was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance, and benevolence were all my business. The dealings of my trade were but a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business. Charles Dickens invented the fictional character of Ebenezer Scrooge, but as the truly great writers of fiction are able to do, He has, in Scrooge, distilled the tendencies of real flesh and blood human beings to become so rigid, so concerned with material sustenance and profit, that the spiritual capacities we all possess are dismissed and written off, to quote Scrooge himself, as a humbug. A Christmas Carol is the story of a man who has become very rich and yet, during the process, lost any sense of compassion or generosity. That word, generosity, has a history that many people today might be surprised to learn. When we say that someone is generous, we tend to mean that they are kind. Kind and generous almost seem to be synonymous, but the word generous originally denoted nobility of birth. This is from a time in history when being of noble birth implied that having inherited or even having earned great wealth meant there was also the responsibility to give back. The phrase noblesse oblige was a standard aphorism used among the Anglo-Norman aristocracy to suggest that nobility extends beyond mere entitlement and requires people who hold such status to fulfill certain obligations to their people. Over the centuries, generous began to take on a different meaning and usage. By the 17th century, it no longer strictly applied to those with a title of nobility, but now had the connotation of nobility of spirit, the qualities that, at that time, were still associated with, accurately or not, the ideals of actual nobility, began to be assigned to anyone who displayed those admirable qualities, regardless of their family history. To speak of someone as generous meant that they were inclined to do or give more than was expected of them. It's something that anyone can do, and yet, while the idea has evolved to apply to anyone of any background, it is still a virtue that goes beyond the basic standards of morality, such as telling the truth or not stealing. Whereas those virtues may constitute something like an obligation or duty for any ethical person, generosity calls people to a higher standard, and so retains some of its initial aristocratic meaning. Relatively few people answer that higher calling to practice generosity, though any given person may freely choose to do so. By its very definition, generosity is a practice of going above and beyond the call of duty in order to benefit others. There is a slight distinction, though, between generosity and pure altruism. A person may practice authentic generosity out of a kind of self-interest. According to ancient Greek philosophers, a truly good life necessarily required one to be virtuous. Eudaimonia was a state of being that was the source of true happiness in life, and therefore was the highest state one could attain. In light of this, to live a virtuous life was to live the best and happiest life possible. Seen from this point of view, the character trait of generosity and the habit of actually being generous may be an attempt at improving one's own state of well-being. So, generosity benefits the generous person as well as their beneficiary. In tonight's sleep meditation, we will contemplate how generosity may bring more well-being into not only the lives of others, but in our own lives as well. This self-interested generosity may seem counterintuitive, but when generosity becomes a mature practice, we find that the more generous we are toward others, the more generous we become toward ourselves. Ebenezer Scrooge took the view that to give to others was to impoverish himself. Generosity is proportionate to one's own resources. And there is always an element of mindfulness that must be applied to when, how much, and to whom one may be generous. To deplete oneself by giving indiscriminately deprives you and others of long-term, sustainable generosity. On the other hand, when you are generous toward yourself as well, you make your energy a priority so that you may have an abundance from which to give. Allow yourself to become calm and steady. Take a comfortable inhale through the nose. Hold the breath for a few moments without any strain. If possible, don't close your throat, but simply suspend your breath for some time, and then silently and slowly count to 5 as you exhale through the mouth. Again, inhale through your nostrils and mentally count to 5. Hold the breath in for a count of 5, never straining. Exhale slowly through the mouth as you count to 5 in your mind. Once more, just like that. Inhaling through the nostrils. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold the breath in for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, breathe normally in and out through the nostrils. Continue breathing at your own pace, paying special attention to the breath for some time. After spending this time breathing quietly, notice if you feel any changes in your body and mind. The breath is a wonderful way to change your state of mind. It It sends signals via the nervous system to all your vital organs and literally changes the balance of chemicals in your bloodstream. The ancient yogis knew of this intimate connection between the breath and your inner state, and they expressed the phenomenon in the saying, "The mind follows the breath, and the breath follows the mind." If the breath is smooth and steady, the mind will also become smooth and steady. On the other hand, if the mind is calm and stable, and you happen to notice the quality of your breath, you will likely discover that it is also very relaxed and comfortable. Imagine the breath as one unbroken thread. The brief pause that naturally occurs between the breaths should never be thought of as stopping the breath, but rather a continuation of the unbroken thread of your breath. Again, inhale through the nostrils for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and suspend that pause at the top of the inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale slowly through the nostrils now for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pausing at the bottom of the breath, never closing the throat. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Make space for the next inhale, and as the breath floods in, silently count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Retain that breath for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Almost reluctantly, release the breath on a slow exhale through the nose. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Linger in the pause at the bottom of your breath, calmly for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go on, repeating this cycle of breathing for a few more cycles, making sure that you are silently counting the duration of the breaths and never straining or pushing. If you'd like to just breathe normally, that is fine too. Simply watching the flow of the breath as you gradually and gently coax the breaths to extend. Long, unbroken threads of breath. Continue, never straining, gently. Go on. Now let go of any counting and any retention of the breath and return to an easy rhythm with your breathing. The simple breathing practice you've just completed has changed your blood chemistry, and you may notice that the breath moves more slowly now, or perhaps the movements of the torso have become smaller and more subtle as you breathe. Letting your attention travel to the following locations as I guide you, you will now experience the consciousness in different regions of your body. Try to effortlessly move your attention from place to place. Bring your attention to your right hand thumb, first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, right wrist, right elbow, right shoulder, right waist, hip, thigh, knee, lower leg, ankle, heel, top of the foot, the sole of the foot, right big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe. Now bring your attention to your left hand thumb, first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, left wrist, left elbow, left shoulder, left waist, hip, thigh, knee, lower leg, ankle, heel, top of the foot, the sole of the foot, left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe. Let your awareness travel to the right shoulder blade, the left shoulder blade, the spine, the right buttock, the left buttock, the whole of the back together, the top of the head, the back of the head, right ear, left ear, forehead, right temple, left temple, right eyebrow, left eyebrow, right eye, left eye, the bridge of the nose, the tip of the nose, top lip, lower lip, the thin line between the two lips, chin, jaw, and the whole of the head, the whole of the head. Develop an awareness from the top of your head to the tips of your toes and feel yourself as a whole person. Your past and future combine here in this precious and yet eternal present moment. The whole body together. The whole body together. The whole body together. Whole body. Whole body. the whole body together. Sleep is a gift that you not only give to yourself, but that you give to others indirectly. When you sleep, you restore and repair your mind and body. You are replenishing your resources. These resources can be dispersed generously to those in need, whether they be your nearest and dearest or the community at large. The abundance you feel after a restful night of sleep, the replenishment and fullness. When you are well rested, you are at your best. Generosity is a high ideal. Not everyone reaches for it. To give only what is expected is the minimum and perfectly adequate offering. No one could fault you for it. It isn't as inspiring or enlightened as the generous version of yourself. That version of you gives more than is expected without depleting your ability to continue being generous. Your breath is a kind of currency that must be exchanged with the environment. Air is abundantly surrounding you. When you inhale, the air outside of your body is falling into your chest, which is a lower area of pressure. Oxygen pours forth from the atmosphere, which you receive to nourish your tissues and then offer your efforts to living the best life possible. You are the recipient of the atmosphere's generosity. Life's generosity is all around us. By participating in this free-flowing exchange and extending it to others, we may facilitate the well-being of everything around us. The best version of you is living as well as you can. Living as well as you can means helping others live as well as they can. It is a self-interested virtue which benefits you in the long term. When Scrooge awakens on Christmas morning, having had a profound and complete change of character from the long ordeal of being visited by the spirit of Christmas past, Christmas present, and Christmas future, he emerges with intense compassion and generosity. It's as though Scrooge attains enlightenment because he is finally able to see beyond himself and his own affairs. Mankind becomes his business. Sleep. Sleep. Sleep.